Now, this next one is sad, but not as sad as our last news topic. But at the same time, it's hardly surprising, at least to me, and that is that Alan Horn, the current head of Disney Films Division and has been for about the last 10 years, has announced that he'll be retiring at the end of this year, like December 31st. He's gone. Now, he was a Bob Iger pick, not a Chapek pick. He was a Bob Iger pick, and frankly, he really, really helped stabilize the film division. So anything in the last 10 years, I know we harp on Disney had a lot of live action remakes recently, but through Alan Horn, you had the rise of the MCU. You could say the Star Wars debacle, but look at The Force Awakens. I still maintain to this day, people forget how powerful The Force Awakens was. I think the sequel trilogy, everyone always remembers The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, and they want to say the whole thing was bad. We forget how good Force Awakens was at restoring the Star Wars brand and getting people back interested in it. That's him. Disney had a lot of success with him as their CEO. Not CEO, but the head of the films division, basically. He did a good job. Frankly, I'm actually amazed he stood as long as he did in this position, because before this, he was in retirement. Iger had to basically call him out of retirement to do this job, because he's like, dude, we're screwed. We need you. You are a guiding and steady hand for this, and we've got big things that we would like to do. And the best thing about Alan Horn is he was so hands off. Like, for better or for worse, you can say, like, you don't like the remakes or certain Disney movies that have come out recently.
Yeah.
But you can't say that they didn't at least... They tried things. It's not... At times it felt corporate, but at least they still let their directors do their own thing. You didn't hear a ton, at least, of stories of, say, like, the new Men in Black, of the director and everyone else involved, basically, in fighting. This is gonna suck. Like, it's not the biggest loss, but it's more a sign or a further indictment of the state of Disney currently of, well, Iger's leaving, so now Alan Horn's gonna leaving, and in his place is not a movie executive or even a former movie executive. We have a marketing guy. We have Chapek has appointed one of his buddies, one of his friends, one of his yes men, a former marketing and brand guy as the new head of the films division. Worried yet, Josh?
I just, like, the amount of times that you and I have had the conversation of, like, movies that didn't get good marketing but are incredible films and, like, iconic and blah blah blah, and, like, and not just the Iron Giants, not just the Treasure Planets, not just the John Carters, but, like, the amount of times that, like, how often you and I can be like, oh, well, this movie comes out next month and they drop their first trailer. I guess the company doesn't believe in it. Like, marketing has such a huge impact on films that just kind of casually putting one at the top of the film division and not, that worries me so much for Disney. Like, and not that I'm, like, heavily invested in it and all that, but, like, yeah, dude, it's kind of worrying.
But here's the thing that makes me worried, at least recently with Disney, and this is a full credit to Alan Horn, recently Disney has been trying to tell different stories. Like we said earlier in the podcast, we had movies like Coco or Black Panther or Shang-Chi, which are very, very different stories told by different filmmakers and different heritages telling their own unique stories, which I think only helps expand the viewer's worldview, going, oh, so in Shang-Chi, this is kind of like what an Asian community would be experiencing in their growing up and their everyday life. Or Black Panther, what that did for the black community. Like, there's so many kids now between that and Into the Spider-Verse that are going, I can now see myself on the big screen. And I don't think we're going to get that as much now with people in the film division that just look at a spreadsheet and go, well, according to our stats, these are the type of movies that do well. Yeah. These are the type of protagonists that do well. These are the type of characters that do well. Throw the spreadsheet out. Like, Chapek, the guy now running Disney, again, is the dude that threw Shang-Chi under the bus less than 2 weeks before the movie came out and goes, this will be an interesting experiment. No, you don't say that about your first predominantly Asian cast with an Asian hero that's trying something new that's going to be a huge deal for the Asian community. You don't throw that under the bus. You try new things. You tell different stories from all the different quadrants so people feel like they can be represented. And also, different communities tell different stories, and I think that's awesome. The stories and the lore of Black Panther are going to be so different than the stories and lore from, I don't know, Captain America. But they can still coexist in the same universe. You need those different styles. Or the way Shang-Chi tells its stories, or the way Coco tells its stories. Cultures tell different stories in different styles, and I love that. And I don't think we're going to get that as much when you just look at the stat sheets. It's kind of like the Moneyball approach. Yeah, you can look at just the numbers and see, okay, this does well and this doesn't. But baseball is more than just the Moneyball approach of looking at the stats. Case in point, Josh's Astros getting squandered because of bad officiating.
Yeah.
That's
Don't
more than just.
Don't get me started on that game.
That's
oh
more than
gosh.
just the numbers. But Chapek and current leadership are just the numbers and the stats, and you can't do that. You've got to have gut feelings. You've got to be creative. You've got to be willing to listen and be emotionally impacted by various sources. And I don't think we're gonna get that anymore now that Horn's leaving.
So I just had a thought
Of
stuff that is, quote unquote, going to be coming down the line Marvel wise, right, in the next 5-6 years. So when we talk about the X-Men, one of my biggest things I think about the Fox X-Men is that they had a tendency to be kind of emotionally sterile, and storytelling wise they didn't really take a lot of chances necessarily, and they didn't lean into the mutant thing, which is kind of the whole point of the X-Men. If Chapek continues down the path that he's on, we will either not get X-Men, or we will get an extremely sterilized version to where everyone has the emotional capacity of Cyclops. Like, that's
movie Cyclops, not comic Cyclops.
No, both, because they're both absolute pricks. Anyway,
I don't hate the comic one, but the comic Cyclops definitely gets the short end of the stick in the movies. He gets completely screwed over.
Anyway, but I can see the X-Men not being taken as the opportunity of diverse storytelling that it is. And that honestly makes me more sad, I think, than some of the stuff that's going on right now.